There are so many costs involved with selling art at art fairs. You have your booth fee, hotels, labor, gas, everything. Sometimes these can run up to $1,500 or $2,000 per show. So it is super important to pick a show that you're going to not only make the money to cover those costs, but also be able to make a profit. I've been selling my art full-time at art fairs for the last 10 years. So today in this video, I want to share with you some of the things that I learned so you won't make the mistakes that I did and pick bad shows. We're going to go over 5 signs that it's a bad show and that you should avoid it. Now, I would also like to clarify here that not every show is bad. These are signs that 90% of the time the show will be bad, but every once in a while the show could be awful, but you could have that right customer walk into your booth that buys a really big piece or spends a lot of money buying several of your pieces, and this perfect art buyer could make you have an amazing show. And so you never know where you're going to find that perfect buyer. But most often, if a show has these qualities, it's not going to be a good one. The first is location. Is the show in a small town or rural area? If it is, it probably should be avoided, and here's why. You need to have a certain number of attendees to the event to be able to make a good profit. And it just comes down to numbers. The more people who attend, the more chances there are for you to sell your work. And so any event that's in a small town is not going to generate the amount of traffic that you probably need to be able to pay $1,000 or $2,000 cost for going and doing the show. That said, if you live in the small town and it's a local show, it has a very low booth fee, then there's not much barrier to entry for you doing that show. And so it might very well be a good show for you, especially if you have a lot of friends and family in the area who may come to your art booth to purchase. And so it just depends. But if you are traveling from out of the area to a small town, it is not advisable. Next, if you're looking to sell high-ticket items like original paintings in the $1,000, $2,000, or even $3,000 range, then you want to avoid every show that has the word craft in the title. So if it says Arts and Crafts Fair, bad. Don't do it. Now, if you're like me and you're selling more affordable price prints in the $20 range, then you can definitely do a craft fair and make a living. But if you're trying to sell originals that are high priced, avoid anything that says it's a craft fair at all cost. Next is booth fee. If it is extremely low, let's say 10% of the normal cost of booth fees in your area. So let's say you normally pay $500 for a booth fee, but this booth fee is $50, you have to ask yourself why. And I would stay away from shows like that because typically they're just getting started or there's some other reason that it is so cheap. And you want to have good shows with good attendance. And if these event coordinators know their show is good, they're going to be charging more money. Also, along these same lines, if it is the first year of the show, it probably should be avoided. It's better to pick shows that are established, that have been going for like 10, 20, even 30 years. This is because they have a whole bunch of clientele that go to these shows. The people love to go to the show. They save up money during the year to spend on art at the show. And so there is a buying mentality when it comes to people purchasing artwork for these shows. And they have a reputation for selling a lot of work at them. And so because of this, picking those shows is definitely going to lead to more sales than picking a show that just got started and doesn't really have a whole lot of clientele who are used to purchasing at the show. The next sign that the show's bad has to deal with the show rules. Now, when you're applying, you can go through and you can look at all the rules, and I would highly suggest to read every single rule all the way through, because sometimes shows have very restrictive rules, like they are all original shows, or they don't allow you to have prints unless they're matted, or they don't allow prints that are signed, numbered, limited edition. There are a lot of examples. But if there is a particular item that you sell that you know is 90% of your sales, but you won't be able to sell it at this event, then you should avoid that event. For instance, I sell mostly art prints at art fairs, and so there are events that don't allow art prints. The all original shows, if I went to one of those, I wouldn't make any money, or I'd make very little. I definitely wouldn't make the money that I make at shows that allow me to bring my art prints. And so I always avoid shows that don't allow me to bring my prints because, yeah, that's the bread and butter of my business. It's also extremely important to know who your target market is for your art, so that way you can pick a show that has people attending it who want to buy your work. If you want to dig in deeper to learning how to figure out who your target market is, check out this video. All right, thank you so much for watching. See you next time.